Good morning. How are you today? It's a little bit of a wet and rainy day, but it's what it is. So the first thing that I want to do is kind of pick up from where we left off before and start a little bit with reporting. Our company has essentially nothing. We can look at our reports, company, financial profit and loss. We can see we've done no business. And reports, company, balance sheet, we can see that we have no assets. But we do have a $5 bill and a green card, which is going to be essentially a credit card that we have for personal use, but we're going to start using it for business. So at this point, we really don't have much in the way of assets. A lot of times the parents, have like a lawnmower and truck that we kind of use, especially if you're in high school or just getting out. You're going to have to get to a mower somehow, and you're really not going to be able to start off with some of the good equipment right now. So the biggest thing is to when you start a business, develop a clientele, get some customers, be able to get that list in, and be able to start servicing them. In order to start servicing them, the first question you got to ask is, what are we going to charge? Right now, we can probably just get into the residential market, and I'm going to use about $40 for residential lawn mowing and be able to see if we can make a go of it. So now that we know what we're going to charge for price, we're going to need to set up a mechanism, buy some fuel. I'm going to say we have access to, an old Toyota Tacoma single cab truck, and we'll say just an old hand mower, that doesn't really have any cost basis. And we're pretty much borrowing it because, right now we can't really afford it. So, but we do have a credit card because we're young, be able to finance our business that way. No bank's going to talk to us without any customers, right? And we do got a $5 bill. So that makes things a little bit interesting. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is take our credit card, my green card, and essentially get this set up into our system so we can buy some fuel and gasoline so we'll be able to start servicing our customers. So let's go back to the chart of accounts and let's create this new credit card account, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We're going to go to File, New, and we're going to create a credit card account. I'm going to go through the process. Let's give it a number. We'll say like 2050, and we're going to say green card because it's my green card. It's not going to be a sub account right now of anybody. We're going to save and close, and now that we got our credit card, we're ready to start getting some fuel for basically our truck and for our mower. So let's go back to the home screen. So now we're back at our home screen, and one of the things that's now available is enter credit card charges. So now that we've got our green card, we take our Tacoma truck, take thing for gasoline and our mower, in the back, and let's fill things up. So we're gonna go there. One of the things you can see here on the credit card account is going to be our green card, and let's put in the corner gas station for the vendor. Filling up today. Let's say there's a reference receipt. It's 15X is probably a document reference number, just right off from the receipt, something that you can use in terms of matching a paper document to the system. And we're going to say that it's about $30. Fill up the truck and get 5 so gallons, so we can start mowing our lawn. So at this point, what we're going to do is, we're going to expense our fuel, and we know that fuel is going to be under, we'll say, gas and oil. It's going to be a subset here, of equipment costs. So we put under gas and oil, $30, and a lot of times we can put in a memo, basically kind of let us know that, it's maybe a location, say it's like we'll use the Old Town. location. Put in, city and state just to, or, sit in gallons of, you know, it's what, probably, $3, probably is a little bit expensive, but, I'll say that we put in, yeah, about 15 gallons. So we put in kind of location, kind of know where we are. We're not going to really bill anything out to the customer because right now at this point, we're just going to keep things pretty simple using the account memo um, and amount. So what we're going to do is we're going to save it. So now that we have some fuel, we're going to be able to service our customer. And we're going to do creation of an invoice. So, let's kind of get started. We're going to do things kind of basic right now. And we're going to use the create invoice. We're probably going to have to customize it because this thing looks pretty awful. But since right now our customer, Aaron Duffy, is in Old Town, he's probably within walking distance. So we can kind of drive over, with our truck and kind of start looking at what we need to customize, because this looks really not so good because there isn't, the information that we want to put in there, and there's some of the stuff is probably unnecessary. But let's kind of get it kind of thinking about how we want to get it situated and arranged so that when we actually build the customer, it's going to show what we want to show. So let's kind of, first thing probably want to do is kind of get information for our service. So right now with the quantity, especially if we're going to bill, residential mowing, we're going to probably want to bill it by acre. But, when you start off, you really don't know how many acres, and sometimes asking the customer. So we're going to just use kind of a quantity of 1. And let's say the item code for this thing is going to be residential mowing. And, sometimes with a description, we might put in residential mowing. One of the things, let's say, we kind of really don't want to do all that typing. If we kind of copy this thing and go into lists, items, and open up the description, when we set this thing up, it's going to pre-populate on our invoices during creation. So we use $40. I'm going to use that to charge the customer. So that's going to pull up. It's going to pull up a price of $40 for one lawn mowing. This looks pretty ugly. Not going to really need. Let's customize these columns. Let's make these things so you can start seeing them. And one of the things is, with the billing address, a lot of times it's kind of good to know with the customer if the billing address is going to be the same as where you're going to do the service. Sometimes, you got to centralize billing, with a customer. You're going to have a different location to actually do the mowing from, where you're billing. But a lot of times that's going to be with a business customer. But for the sake of this example, I'm going to show you how to use the ship to. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up this pencil and use a copy button. It's residential, so it's going to be the same information, but we're going to say this is like the physical location, so that we have that information in our system. So from here, we're going to go back to our invoice and essentially copy that information, so that when we start creating our invoices, we're going to be able to bill it one place and also let our people know if we have any employees, or since it's just ourselves, where we're going to want to actually perform the services. So at this point, let's go through the invoice customization process and get things where they need to be on here. Have a nice day. Nice day. Thank you for your business. It's just kind of a nice little message. We're not going to quite do invoice, turn those on right now, so it's basically we're just kind of taking a step from going to, we'll say, Staples or a supply store, buying a paper receipt pack, and actually move the invoice online so we can start tracking our services. So at this point, we're going to want to go into formatting, and we're going to want to manage customized data layout and start getting this where it needs to be. So we're going to make a copy and start pulling this information up. So here's the kind of the thing with the additional customization. It's going to show us where, what we need and what we don't need. So, it's good to let the customer know that this is an invoice. The screen means you'll be able to see it here on QuickBooks. Print means it's actually going to print in, reality. So you're going to definitely want a date. You're going to want the invoice number, bill to, ship to. We don't really need a PO number right now. Sometimes, if we were going to do commercial billing, resident, lawns, we might need to get into that. But for now, let's kind of keep things a little bit simple. Terms, one of the things we want to do with business, we'll say, probably net 30. It would be pretty much cash, especially when we're starting off. But at least we're going to give some of our customers about probably 30 days to pay their bill. We want to certainly put in the due date so that they can, see exactly. We have some fields that overlap, and we're going to have to fix that on the layout designer. That's not too bad. Let's turn off the rep, because right now we're not going to really want to use the rep function. It's a lot of times if you have a sales rep, but we'll come to that later, and I'll show you some cool things with it. We should definitely start out with account numbers. It isn't really default on there, but it's something that's good to have so that when you print out the invoices, you have your account numbers. Don't really need the ship via, don't really need a ship to date. You just kind of have to go through the process of getting this invoice created. We don't need this, don't need FOB, we don't need project. We haven't really customized the things right now. Let's go now to the columns, and let's kind of get things in a kind of a nice order. Service date's kind of nice. Let's put that in there for now. That way we know what date we actually perform the service, because a lot of times when you do your invoicing, it's probably not going to be the same day you mow the lawn. Let's see, quantity, cost, amount, should be order number 1. And this is going to be a description. Then we're going to want to put our quantity. That's going to be 3. Well, we should put the service date, number 3. And then let's put quantity at 4. Let's put 5. And amount at 6. So basically what you got to do is you got to kind of fix this order so that it kind of populates the way it needs to be. So if the numbers are good, let's kind of make sure this kind of says what it should. And item, description, quantity, price each, and amount. So that looks good. Let's move over to our footer and kind of get layout designer, kind of get invoice here. So let's say we have a customer message. Some point we might want to get into some of these additional things, but not right now. A lot of times you can put a disclaimer. Basically put something on the invoice. These are kind of the settings for the printer. It's pretty standard.